recording.
Welcome everyone to our Shir in Sefer Melitza. As is our custom, we just give a brief overview just to get us located again. There's two types of communication the Ramchal describes. One is called communication, one is motivation. We finished the first type, we're into the second type now. He's trying to explain to us how to use language to motivate. And he said that the motivator and the communicator have things in common and things that are different, of course. Both of them have to communicate their ideas clearly. And the communicator always looks to communicate his ideas by defining things by their essence and not looking for comparisons, for instance, to define what they're saying, or not trying to define things by a mikra, you know, like he's going to say lahashtin kir, to call a dog something that goes on a wall. So both of them have the problem of words not being sufficient to communicate your ideas clearly because they're very subtle or they exist within a special realm. Like if you're trying to tell someone about the world of computers, so you have to explain to them concepts like control and enter, which are borrowed terms from other places. So language has limitations because when we want to open up a new realm of study, so we have to create words to describe that new realm. And those words have to be borrowed from reality. Or we want to talk about things that are not physical, like all of Mishlei is trying to explain to us, to motivate us to change our personalities and to enjoy doing Torah and mitzvahs. So that's a new realm of reality, Torah and mitzvahs, and we have to, Sefer Melitza has to appeal to things that we know. He says, if you look, if you search for it like silver and hidden things, then you'll understand Yiras Hashem. Because Yiras Hashem is a new realm of existence, so we have to take your old concepts and tell you what type of activity you need in order to get this new idea. So, in the second part of the book that we're in now, he's telling us the Chukei HaMelitza. That means what the motivator has to do. Now, the first part, of course, is similar. He has to be clear about the ideas that he's expressing. So that's this first little box here, which is called Seer Maspik. Let's see if I can do that. Does this go like that? Oh, look at that. Okay, not such a nice circle, but we did it. Okay, so the first thing is called Seer Maspik, that you have to communicate your ideas sufficiently. And the first rule, of course, he said, is that all your grammar has to be done correctly, and the words you pick have to be appropriate. The second thing that we were learning last time we met is the idea of using metaphor. When, as we were giving a little introduction here, sometimes the area that you're talking about is subtle or a new realm of study that people are not aware of. Like we said, Yiras Hashem, so you have to appeal to metaphors to communicate that idea. So he said, for instance, if you want to show the abundance of wealth that comes when one does mitzvahs, you could say that the fields were clothed with corn, and usually borrowing a term from human clothing and showing how it was abundant. So that's called metaphor because fields are not clothed, men are clothed, so we had to borrow a term from one field, which is human reality, and then transfer it over to another. It's called metaphor. Now he's going to talk about comparison. Now, comparison is unlike metaphor because metaphor borrows a term from another place and puts it into the subject that you're talking about to make it clear. Like we said, the fields were clothed in corn. That's a borrowed term from a human being and replacing it onto an object which really doesn't, it's not really shaykh to, but everybody understands what you're doing when you're doing that. Comparison is when you try to explain something by appealing to another subject group that is more known and saying this is like that. So that's this little portion we'll be doing today, which is called erech. Okay, or comparison. So let's get back our arrow again, I guess. That's how we do it. Is that how we do it? How do we shut these things off? Normal, non-true. Okay. So let's go and investigate this paragraph called erech, comparisons. Erech hu shena'ir al haskalas inyan ma al yidei hanarachim lo. When we use comparisons, it's because we want to awaken someone's intellect by showing that the subject that we're studying now is comparable to some other subject. And he says the two ways we do it are through dimyan and hefchim. Sometimes we'll say, well, this is like something or unlike something. And we explained that the communicator, of course, also has to appeal to comparisons, not only the motivator. And this is the definition. Bios nasu ashir nirtza lahudi yos benoseinu yoter maforsa benose domalo. Since a nasu, since a predicate is found in another subject, and that's clearly known, so we want to bring that over to us. Bios hanasu asher nirtze lahodi yos benoseinu. We want to say that there's a certain predicate in our subject, but that predicate is yoter maforsam benose domalo. But the predicate is more clearly found in another similar subject. So we're going to appeal to the other subject, which you know has that predicate, and we want to say, you know something? That predicate applies here also. O shmikorach ariches shnei hefkim zulu matzu. Another way we could do it is we can show, we can explain a predicate in our subject by showing what the opposite subject has. So you say, you know the predicate in the opposite subject, so then just take the opposite and you'll find out what our subject is. Yukir b'yizgala yoter hamaforet, hefareish v'nehem, by showing the opposite, so then you could see how much different is our subject to that subject. You'll spell these things out. The dimyon yaseh b'shnei derachim. Now, when we're doing dimyon comparisons, there's two ways that he identifies. One is called the shalom, and the other one is called the milde shalom. One is called a complete comparison, and one is where we don't tell you both the subject and its comparison. Hashalom sheyizkaru hadomim v'hadimyon pirusho b'ma yizdameh. The shalom explains everything. We explain how these two things are similar and what is the similarity. The bilti shalom sheyizkaru hadomim v'lo hadimyon. We only show you the two subjects that are similar, but we don't spell out their comparison. And he's going to go through these with examples, Baruch Hashem. What is the first type? The mashal of the first type. The first type he brings from Yeshaya. It says, Ki kasher yored hagashamim v'hasheleg min hashemayim v'shama. I'm going to get the whole pasuk. Let me get it. That's the work I did today, Baruch Hashem. Here's the pasuk on the bottom. Let's see if I can grab it. Yes. Ki kasher yored hagashamim v'hasheleg min hashemayim. Just like the rains and the snow fall from the heavens, v'shama lo yeshuv, and they don't return up to the heavens, ki im harava es haaretz, until after they have they say fructified.
Fructified?
Yeah, that's the word they use. I mean, okay. Yeah, made everything flourish. V'holida v'tzmicha, and it gave birth and made everything go forth. V'notzan zera l'zoreya v'lechem l'elchal, and it gave the plants and food to eat. Ki yed devarai. So in other words, just like the Yeshaya is telling us, okay, you know about the rains and the snow. They come from the heavens, and they don't go back to the heavens until they accomplish their job of fertilizing, I guess, making the soil fertile and making all the seeds blossom. So here's the comparison. Kain yeh divarai. So too are my words, asher yetze mipi, that come out of my mouth. Lo yeshuv alai rekam. They never come back empty. Ki im oseh et asher chafatzti v'hatzliach asher shalachtiv. Until they do what I desire and were successful.
Yeah. It's a famous pasuk.
So, yeah, we do it, right? This is what we say on fast days, right?
Right.
But, okay. So, I have the translation on top. There we go. Yeah. Very good. So we have the given, okay, and it's the comparison. What we're comparing it to is totally spelled out. Rains and snow come from the heavens, and they don't return unless they satiate the earth, and they fructify, and everything grows, and everyone has bread to eat. Okay? Then, also, so that's the no-say that we want to use as a comparison. But really what we want to talk about, Hashem wants to talk about His words. That's the no-say He wants to. And he says, my words are like the rains, because they also always do their job. They always do their job. Okay? So is my word that emanates from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty unless it has done what I desire, has made prosperous the one whom I sent. Okay? So Hashem wants to explain the power of His words, and He uses a mashal that everybody knows, which is the rain. And the mashal and the nimshal are totally spelled out, and that's why it's called a shalem, a nerech shalem, a complete comparison, because we have the subject, the rains, and the fact that they always do their job, and we have the subject we want to talk about, which is the words of Hashem, and it also does its job. So that's why it's called Shalem. All four parts are there. Okay, he gives another example. Okay, that's from Yeshaya Samachay Ches. I wrote these all down because they're very poetic. And let's see. What is that? That's 6. Okay. Koma Hashem kasher yemotza atirosh ve'eshkol va'omar al tashchisuhu ki barachabo kain aaseh lema'an avdai ubilti hashchis hakol. Okay, so Hashem says, as when wine is found in the cluster, and one says, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it, so I will do for the sake of my servants, not destroying everything. So here we have, according to actually the Navi speaking in the name of Hashem, telling us that the Jewish people will never be destroyed. Now how does he do that? By giving us a dimyon to a person finding a beautiful cluster of grapes and he definitely would not destroy it because it's full of blessing. It's not like something that's so weak and shriveled. So too Hashem deals with us. Since we are His blessed people, He would never seek to destroy us. So the Navi is trying to show us that Hashem has a constant love for us and will never destroy us. But He does it by bringing a dimyon to a person finding a grape cluster filled with blessing. So just like, again, subject, grape cluster is never destroyed by the person finding it. So too, the Nimshal here is Hashem will never destroy the Jewish people because they have blessing. So all 4 parts are spelled out, and that's why it's called Shalem. The Dimyon, the subject and predicate, and what's its Doma 2, the subject and predicate. Here's the third one. If we would do Ian and the Sefer, we would say, why does he need 3? 3, where do we, what do we gain from each one? Because the Ramchal never wastes his time. So there's probably a subtle lesson within each one that far. We'll go. That's extra credit. Okay. Okay. There's another one from Yeshaya. He's going to quote a lot from Yeshaya. Let's get the complete quote. So I put that there as 7. Se'u l'shamayim einechem vehebitu el haaretz mitahas. Raise your eyes to the heavens and look at the earth that's below the heavens. Ki shamayim ka'ashon nimlahu va'aretz kabeged nivla'u v'yoshveha kamokain yamutun v'yeshua si la'olam ti'er utzitkosi lo tachas. Oops. No, lo tachas. Okay. Translate here. Raise your eyes to the heavens and look to the earth from beneath. For the heavens shall vanish like smoke, and the earth shall rot away like a garment, and its inhabitants shall likewise die. And so that's the, okay, my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. So that's a question of an opposite, right? Because here, the Navi is telling us to look to the heavens and look down at the earth, and you'll see that everything is going to disappear. The heavens will go away like smoke, the earth will rot away like a garment, and all the inhabitants of the world will also disappear. But when it comes to my salvation will be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. So that's how strong is my ability to save. It's more powerful than the opposite, which is destruction. Destruction is something that will happen to all creation, but I'm beyond all that. I think that's Bishan the Pasuk. Okay.
Yep.
I had to do a lot of research to find these things and to get them done. Especially the Navi is very difficult, but that's what it is. Okay, and it's giving me notes on different pages, which is also nice. Okay, now those are the Shalom. Why? Because we said that here in the case of the Navi or anyone else, doesn't really matter. When you try to explain your no-say, like the salvation of Hashem, or the fact that Hashem's words will always produce. So you're going to appeal to something that people are much more aware of. It's much more meforsam, like the heavens, the snow and the rain. Okay, or that the fact that everything in the world disappears. So, and by appealing to those mashalim, when you clarify what you're talking about, the subject you want to explain more clearly. Okay, so it's called a shalom, we said, because all four parts are there. Subject and predicate of the comparison and what it's being compared to. What about the mashal of the bilti shalom? Okay, so couldn't be a better motivator than the Navi. So he's again with Yeshaya. V'yehi kenahar shlomecha v'tzidkosecha k'galei hayam. Your peace will be like a river, and your righteousness will be like an ocean. Okay. Now here we don't know what is the. We know the subject. Okay, he's going to explain, but we don't know what it is. It's not spelled out. What exactly is it that is like the river or is like the yam? So that's why it's called Bilti Shalom. The noseh of comparison is there, but the nasu is not there. It's missing, and that's left to your understanding. So here the Ramchal says, Hizkir hadomi vehem hasholem ba'ana. So the things which are comparable here is that shalom is going to be like a river, or tzedek is going to be like a yam. V'lo hadimyon, but what it is left out. Aval muvan me'alav shehu beribui. But it's understood that what it means is just like the river is overflowing and the never ending, and the yam is overflowing, or not overflowing, just also never ends, so too will be your peace and your righteousness. So there we had the subject of comparison, the noseh we're talking about, and in the subject of its comparison, but the ribui was left out. That's understood, or supposed to be understood by the listener. So that's why it's called the Bilti Shalom, because all four points were not there.
Right. So there's two comparisons here. There's the Nahar compared to the Shalom, and the Sitkascha like the Gali Hayam. Right.
Right. Now he only spoke about one of them, but it's true for both of them.
Okay.
Right. He only talked about the Nar, Nar Shalamecha, but it's just as good as the other one.
Right. Right.
Okay. Maybe Galayama raised to the heavens. I don't know. Again, because it's left out, you're supposed to get it. So either the Meforshim will tell you about it, or you'll understand it. But that's the problem when the point of the mashal, the nimshal, is not spelled out. Okay. Now he says like this: V'amnam yemotze dimyon lo yuzocher bo dimyono ela be'echad hanosim below hasheni. Now sometimes we won't have, like here we had nar and shalom, so both subjects were spelled out, but sometimes you'll only have one of the two subjects spelled out. Derech mashal. V'arashoyim kiyam nirgash. Ki heshket lo yuchal. The Rishoyim will be like a tempestuous ocean who can never find peace. So let's see. Here we have Rishoyim, and the example is to the Yam. The Rishoyim are like the Yam, and here it tells us what the Nimshal is, right? Ki heshket lo yuchal. They'll never find quietness. So I think what that means is, here he says, only be'echa nosim, below b'sheni. So let's see, what are the two nosim here that he wants to talk about? There's the Rishoyim and the Yam, right?
Yeah.
You with me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm following. I'm reading the. I have the Sefer in front of me with the Hebrew Pirush on the bottom, so I'm trying to read it.
Okay. Very good. Good. Okay.
Yeah, so he's saying over here that the Yam. Yeah, what he's saying is that the Rishon is Kiyam Nirgash, and he's that the two Nosim are mentioned, and the Dimyan, but it only mentions the Dimyan only with regard to one Nosi and not the other.
Now, which one is that? The Yam? That's what sort of got me confused. Is it according to the? Is it the Yam that never finds quiet, or the Russia? I think it's the Russia, right?
The Sa'ar and the Ishak, it is said about the Yam, like it's Meforsim. Right, that the Yam never rests. That when the water gets to the banks, it rises up and is always continuing.
Oh yeah, I have the whole pasuk here. Rishayim kiyam.
So the Rishayim, but it doesn't explain. It doesn't explain the Nimshal. He's saying it doesn't explain the Nimshal by the Rishayim because it's understood because they're always terudim and tchafim. They're always troubled and oppressed their whole life without any rest or any peace. And a result of that, their actions are like refes and tit. So it doesn't explain this. So if you read the pasuk is Harashayim Kiyam Nirgash Ki Heshkat Lo Yuchal Vayigushu Meimar refes v'tit. So it says the Risham is like the Yam Nirgash Ki Hesheket Lo Yuchal. What's Sheket Lo Yuchal? It's going back on the Yam. It's not telling you why the Risham is not resting.
Right.
It says Vayigushu Meimar refes v'tit. So that you understand by yourself why the Rishayim are not resting, because they're doing bad deeds, so they're always oppressed and their actions therefore become like refes and tit.
Very good. So the what's being spelled out here is the turbulent sea, the Yam Nirgash, and how it never finds quiet, and the waters are always throwing up mud and dirt all over the place, and you have to put in the nimshal to the wicked, right? They're always involved in dirty businesses, they say. Okay.
Right.
I never find any cause. Okay. So that's we said. Omnam yimatzei dimyan lo yuskar bo dimyan. Excuse me. Omnam yimatzei dimyan lo yuskar bo dimyano ela be'echad hanosim v'lo b'sheni. So that's the point. That this all is talking about the Yam and the nose of the Yam, and how it's turbulent and it throws up dirt and does all these things. But it doesn't tell us about the Russia, and that's left to your understanding. Okay?
Yep.
Good. Now,
he gives in this is the Rabbi Sackton's Hebrew here. She brings down another example of this from Pirkei Avos. It says, Yehuda ben Tema Omer have az kanemer v'kal kanesher. So the dimyan is to a person in his avodas Hashem that he should have all of those character traits of azus, kalos, miras, and gevura, but it doesn't say where you find it in the nemer or where you find it in the nesher. It just says az kanemer. Because that's like he says, it's called the semel mifsi. It's obvious. When you say az kanesher, you understand what it means. Az kanemer, it's understood what it means az kanemer, and kal kanesher, it's understood what. So it's really just comparing it to a person.
Right. The point being, yes, that you're supposed to understand the nimshal all the time. So, and that's why it's called bilti sholem, because it doesn't spell it out, because you're supposed to get it.
Right.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Let's look at the next one. The Yamotze, you see what the Ramchal is doing here. I mean, it's quite amazing what he's doing. He's categorizing all the moves in motivation. I mean, the first part here is only clarity, he's saying, but still he's categorizing them for us, which makes it a very strong tool. But again, we have to master the categorization. So let's go through the examples. V'yimotzei dimyon lo tavo bo ha'os v'lo hamila hamishtamshim lo ela yiskru shnei devorim yachad la'ir al dimyono. Sometimes a dimyon doesn't tell us, doesn't spell out anything. It just takes two things and puts them together, and you're supposed to understand, again, what it is. Okay, but nothing is spelled out here. So here he has a quote from Mishlei. Shot l'sus, meteg l'chamor, v'shevet l'goy kasile. Okay, a whip is to a horse, and a rod is to a chamor, a donkey, and a rod is used for a foolish nation. Okay, so now that's just putting subjects together. The foolish nation, foolish people, need a stick, like the horse and like the donkey. Okay, but all the comparisons are not there. You're supposed to put the whole thing together. And what is it? When do you, when do you hit the horse? When do you hit the donkey? Okay, when he's rebellious, and you want to force him to go. So that's the foolish nation is like the horse and the donkey that are rebellious, and they're just going to get hit. Okay, so there, they just put they don't spell out at all the factor, let's say, when you hit the horse and when you hit the chamor. And you have to put it together with the dimion of the foolish people. Okay, let's go to the next one. Pecham legecholim ve'etzim le'esh ve'ish medonim lecharcher riv. Again, we're just going to give the item and then make the comparison. Like charcoals to coals, and wood to a fire is a contentious person that always causes fights. Okay, that was my free translation. Okay, as charcoal for coals and wood is for a fire, so a quarrelsome man or kindling strife. Okay, so again, it's only it brings the analogy to a person who's always causing fights by just juxtaposing it to things which we know cause inflame. Okay, putting charcoal on the coals and putting wood on the fire, right? But we don't spell it out. We don't, because it's obvious. I mean, but it's just a juxtaposition of the two. It's juxtaposition of that subject and predicate to our subject and predicate, and we understand what the message is. Okay, the person who's always starting fights is always lighting fires. Okay, so now. So sometimes we spell out everything. That's in the Sholem. Sometimes you only spell out the Dimyon, and sometimes only excuse me, the Nosei, but not the Nimshal. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we explain the Dimyon and not the Nimshal. Okay. But the point is, we don't, of the four parts, we have our subject, and we want to talk about a predicate in our subject. We don't know what it is, so we're going to appeal to a dimyon, to a comparison. So we're going to talk about another subject. The question is, are we going to spell out that subject's predicate and bring it over to us in our world or not? So if you do, it's called complete. If you don't, it's called incomplete. Od yimotzei, sheyugdar nosei v'nosei acher li'os al dimyono. Sometimes we define a subject with another subject through comparison. Okay, let's look at this one. So here we want to say it's a definition. We're not saying there's a certain meter in the comparison here. We're defining something. Let's see what it says. This is from Mishlei again. Tapuchei zahav b'maskios hakesev Diber Dava al Ofanav.
It's Davar Davur al Afnav.
Dava Davur al Ofanav. Okay. So like golden apples and silver-covered vessels is a word spoken properly. Okay. So he says like this: Geder Adava Dibur al Ofanav. What we want to now define what a properly spoken word, properly placed word is. Ba'omra shehu tapuche zahav be miskayos hakesev. Well, that's what we learned. It's like we're trying to the kavana kamohu. So what is he trying to say here? He's trying to say that if you want to know what it is to say a word properly in its place, in its fitting place, so just think of golden apples on a silver platter. That's how beautiful it is.
So they go together. Right. So they go together. It's right. The golden apples on a silver platter are as beautiful. And okay, that's so the same thing as spoken word in its right place. Okay.
Right. So the golden apple is like the word on a platter, which is like things spoken in the right place. Okay, but so now that's, he says, is a definition. Here we're trying to define something, he says. Okay, so now he says, V'klau kulam, what's the general rule? Demus dava ledava levairo bir yoter shalom umaspi. And that's a very interesting, I wouldn't have said that, but that's how he learns. He learns that the rule here is that we're trying to describe something that is difficult to describe. So we appeal to a comparison to do that. Okay? So in other words, the finish is, I would have said this is all a question of motivation. So the answer is it's motivation, but the part of motivation that he wants to key on is clarity. In other words, you can't simply say things properly. If you bring the dimyon, you can then more clearly understand why you should say a word in its proper time and place through the dimyon. So the dimyon is a clarity of a concept that's difficult to express in simple language. Okay, so here what the chiddush is that we're using rhetoric for clarity of communication, which is a very big chiddush, because rhetoric is usually thought of as just raising emotion. But here he wants to say we're not trying to raise emotion, we're trying to clarify a subject by appealing to something that's well known. As he said, just like the heavens go up and down. You don't know how Hashem operates. Well, I'm going to tell you how he operates. He operates like the rain and the snow. Okay, so that's what he says.
Right. Well, he's saying that the idea is that a person would not understand. If I just told you that it's a wonderful thing to say a proper word in the proper place, you would not understand how important it is. But if I say if it's beautiful as the tapuch zav b'maskiyas kasaf, now the idea in your head is more clear that, oh, it's really that important for me to speak clearly, to say a davar alaf. Otherwise, how do I communicate that impact to you?
How do I communicate that idea, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a chiddush. The chiddush is I'm not trying to impress you. I am trying to, but that's the point. The point is that words have fallen short of a clear communication of this idea. You will not take it in its proper light. You'll minimize it. So you have to understand when you say a word properly, it has tremendous, tremendous importance. Like silver placed on, like gold placed on a silver platter. It's a perfect combination. And that's the only way I can do it is to appeal to this level of comparison. Okay, that's what he says. So that's what he says. O dimyon v'ha'orech ya'aseh al chiyuv v'ya'aseh al hashlil. Sometimes he says that we can make a comparison to something that has something and something that doesn't. Perishal, what does that mean? Yaseh lahorotios inyan doma leinyan, yaseh lahorotios inyan mischalef mi'inyan. Sometimes you want to use your comparison to say this is like this, and sometimes you're going to say that this is different than this. And of course, the extreme will be opposite this, but okay? So when you're using comparisons, you want to say this is like, that's the ones we've been doing basically, but you can also use it to say this is unlike, and through the this comparison, you'll get the idea. Let's see his examples. Derech Mashal. Hakamakat makehu hikohu. Very difficult line.
Hakamakas makehu hikohu, yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you where it is.
It's in Yeshaya.
Up here. It's in Yeshaya. Yeah, here it is. It says, Hamakat makehu hikohu im kehereg harig av horog. Okay, what does it mean?
So he's saying over here, this is referring to the Makehu is somebody who's Makeh Yisrael, like Parai or Sancheiriv. And he's saying that even when Yisrael does a chet, and the Malachim are giving them a hakah, but it's not as harsh as the makkah that which will come on the Seinehem Ba'asid. He's saying, so this is a mashmois in Shlila, because the einish of the Yisrael is not as great as the einish of their enemies, because Hashem has compassion on the Jews.
Right.
Hakamakat makeu hikahu.
Is my makkah like the makkah of the people that hit you?
Right. It's not. He's saying like a makkah.
He's saying it's not.
Okay, right.
Exactly. It's not. It's a rhetorical question, right?
Right.
That's it. Very good. Okay. So that's exactly the point. Good. Very good. So we're looking at a comparison of the opposite, or in this case, different. Okay. Very good. Let's look at the next one. Im koach avanim kochi. This is from Eov. Do I have the power?
Strength.
Of a stone? Do I have the strength of a stone? In other words, he's like collapsing, right? So he's saying, I don't have the strength of a stone.
Right.
He's being beaten up and having all these terrible things. And he's saying, am I as strong as a stone? Well, he's not really saying, am I as strong? It's not really a question. He's really saying, I am not. Kavanahu lo koach avanim kochi. I don't have the strength of a stone. I can't withstand this. Okay, so a stone is very strong. You can hit it, okay, it won't break. But I'm getting hit so much that he says that I don't have that strength. So we're learning from the opposite. Okay, as strong as a stone is, that's not me. Okay, and that's called nikra dimyon shlili v'tachliso ketachlis dimyon achiv b'shavah. So it has the same tachlis, but it's using the opposite tact. Okay, that's what he's doing. Okay, now he's going to talk. So that was what he said. You can learn through dimyon, through comparisons, or you can learn from difference. Like he said, Hashem doesn't punish us like the enemies punish us. He has a lot of rahmanas. Okay, but now we're going to learn about the extension. We always learn there's different, and then there's opposite. So now he's going to talk about learning about the diametric opposite about your subject. Arichas hefchim hu keshenaskir hefchim v'na'arichim ze keneged ze. When we make opposite comparisons through opposition. So we mention the two opposites and we line them up one against another. Shemevin negdiosam, excuse me, Shemibein negdiosam tebochen yote amitisa inyan shenirtza levayir v'kocho. Okay, so through the strength of these opposites, we'll be able to explain better the truth of what we're talking about. Okay, so the first one is Eis leledus ve'eis lemus. Okay, there's a time for birth and there's a time to die. So we took the two opposites. I think here at the end of the Keller says, I didn't.
Yeah, it's a whole pasuk. L'chol
Right?
zman ve'eis l'chol chevetz tachas shemaim eis l'ledus eis l'mus eis l'tas ve'eis l'hakam.
There's a time for everything, right?
Eis l'harag ve'eis l'pay eis l'freitz ve'eis l'ivnes eis l'ivkos ve'eis l'skoik eis sefoid ve'eis rekoid, and so on and so on.
Good. So there's a time for everything, and what he did was he took opposites to show that even the diametrically opposed things have their place in time. Okay, let's look at the next one. V'ata amarti V'ata amarta b'levavcha hashamayim a'aleh ach el sha'ol toret. Terrible pasuk. I think he's talking about Nebuchadnezzar over there. And he said, you said in your heart that you're going to raise yourself up to the Shemayim, but really you're going to sink to the depths of Gehenna, of Sheol. So again, by showing the polar opposites, we're demonstrating the foolishness here of Nebuchadnezzar, who raised himself above everything, and Hashem says, as high as you think you're going to.
You're saying going up to Shemayim, you're really going to Sheol.
Right. Okay, so we took the opposites. Ki kabeged yochlaim ash utzitkasi le'elam tiyeh. Let me get that pasuk. It says like a beggar that's eaten by moths, my righteousness will be forever. Let's look at the exact pasuk over here. Number 6. For like a garment, the moth shall consume them, and like wool, it's the whole pasuk here. Okay. For like a garment, the moth shall consume them, and like wool, the worm shall consume them. But my righteousness shall stand forever, and my salvation to all generations. So it's all physical.
Right. So the garment gets destroyed, and the opposite is that Tzidkas Hashem is Amedus La'ilam.
Exactly, forever. It never gets destroyed. So it's again showing the eternity of Hashem's righteousness by showing the temporality of everything else. Okay. Okay. Okay, the fourth one here, again from Yeshaya. V'nei avodai yochelu v'atem tarevu. My servants, the Jewish people, will eat, and you are going to starve. V'nei avodai yishtu v'atem timsa'u. My servants, Jewish people, will drink, and you, the enemies of Jewish people, will go thirsty. Hine avadai yismachu v'atem tevoshu. My servants will be happy, and you, the enemy of the Jewish people, will be embarrassed. Hine avadai yirananu, and etc., etc. So again, the joy of the Jewish people and the destruction of the the Goyim, the two opposites are placed one next to the other to show Hashem's redemption of the Jewish people, I suppose. And the last one, here by, excuse me, 5. V'habi Mashalem Timsa Shomrim Zeh HaChok B'Sipor Mishlei. And he says in Mishlei you'll find, will be filled with this. Higid Behem Dava V'Hefcha, where we talk about the thing and its opposite. Matter of fact, Mishlei is based on that. Mishlei is based on talking about opposites. The Russia and the Tzaddik, always comparing the two opposite extremes. Derech Mashal. Sin'o Torer Medanim Val Kain Peshoyim Tichase Ava. V'acherim Rabbi. Well, okay, what did that one say? Sin'o Medanim. The hatred will be awakened by the people who cause arguments and strife, right? Val Kol Peshoyim Tichase Ava. But all the sins, love will cover. So we have the hatred, the one who hates and the one who loves. The one who hates is always finding problems, and the one who loves is doing just the opposite. He's always hiding all the problems. Okay? So there's the hater and the lover, the two opposites. And we compare the two, and then we understand how, by appealing to the extremes, we understand the quality of hatred and love, how far it goes in reality. Okay? You wouldn't understand that unless I brought you the extremes.
Right.
That is it. Okay. So let's go a little further here. Now, the fourth one, what he's going to talk about, let's see, so we can get back there to our chart. Okay. So we spoke about the communicator having to communicate his ideas clearly. Okay, as we mentioned. Okay. Shlemus Halashin. Then he spoke about metaphor. Now he spoke about communicating your ideas through comparison. And finally, he's going to talk about what he talks about, the Geter Halatzii, okay, to the rhetorical definition. Okay, we'll see what he means by that in 1 second. The Geter Halatzii hu hageter asher kiranuhu behigayon geter bilti sholem. It's what he spoke about in Sefer Higayon when you give a incomplete definition. In other words, you don't talk about the etzem, or you don't talk about the category and its difference. What you talk about is you're going to see some sort of mikra or some sort of siman, and through that siman you're going to define your object. Okay, so that's what it is. It's defining things not through their etzem, but through mikra. And I'll give a few different examples of that. V'hu asher yuvuar bo noseinu mitzad mikrav o mitzad v'lo mitzad asmusov. I'm sorry. He says clearly that it's when you try to explain your subject by talking about one of its mikrim and not its essential aspect. And v'nikra chalatzi, why is it then called a rhetorical definition? L'fi shegedek hazeh yeus yoter lemelitza mimash yos lehigayon. Interesting. He says this type of use of defining things through their mikrim is more found in people who try and motivate than they are trying to communicate. People who try to communicate try to talk about the subject, what category it is, what's the difference, talks about their essential quality of the thing, and don't usually talk about things or define things in terms of their mikrim. So that's why he calls it the Geter Halatzii, because most of the times motivators like to talk about subjects. And he's going to explain that a little better. The Nikra Halatzii should get it because they use yoter, Yos, why? Shigavana Sehigayon, there in the name of the Atzmusam, the communicator who wants to speak logically, wants to communicate his ideas, or explain his ideas by explaining the essential quality that he was talking about. Yes. But the kavanas of the melitza, the motivator, l'tzayer the one b'seichel hashomei ba'open sheyif al mehem k'fi ritzon ha'melitza. But since the motivator wants to get people to do things according to what he's trying to communicate, so he's going to be using this type of definition because it has a greater impact. Va'omnam minei hageder hazeh shlosh. Now he defines three types of what he calls this geder. See, the first type he says, Amina Rishon, keshetachas haskirenu shem noseinu hamiti naskir segulim spiritzam. Instead of talking about the name of our subject, we talk about some essential, some quality that it has. And that's called a siman. We talk about the siman. Lefishahu siman muvak shel hanose, because this quality is the siman of the nose. Derech mashal keshenemar mashtin b'kir. Instead of saying a dog, in Shmuel, instead of using the word dog, the reference there is to someone that urinates on a wall. So that's a quality of a dog that's used instead of defining the thing itself. So the communicator would say it's the dog, and the motivator would rather use dog here. Also, when the Torah speaks about the Arnevet, calls it a sirat raglayim, like we would say quick foot or something like that, a young feet. Okay, so Arnevet is very quick, so it's like a person with young legs. Sirat raglayim. Okay. So instead of talking about the object itself, you take a quality of the object and you give it that nickname. Okay, a lot of slang is based on this type of activity. Okay, what's the min hasheni? So that's when you take a certain aspect. The min sheni is kesher naskir noseinu b'shem hanemar b'yichud, where you talk about our subject using a specific. Shiba'arnu behigayon shehu toar shayach l'rabim. Really, you take a quality that is fitting for the rabim, like when we talk about the Gibor, he said, or the Misharer. There could be many singers. There could be many strong people. When we talk about the Gibor, we mean Shimshon, or we talk about the Misharer, we mean David HaMelech. So we take a quality that is more fitting to a universal, and we put it on the nose that we have. Okay? Shehu Torah Shayach l'Rabim v'yotem mikulam be'echad shehiflig. It's really strength is shaykh to a lot of people, but he happens to be the Gibor. Shimshon has to be so unique in that quality, so we call him the Gibor. Hamashal is that, okay, Meirov Onim va'ametz koach. When we talk about Kodesh Baruch Hu, and we call him the strong one and the powerful one. So since he's the strongest of all the powers in the world. What is it over there? In that pasuk? Yeah. Lift up your eyes on high, see who created these, who takes out the host by number, all of them. He calls by name because he is great and mighty and because he's strong, and no one is messing. Okay, the point is when we call Hashem the powerful one, the Almighty, okay, so he is outstanding in that quality, so that's why we give him that name, the Almighty, the Powerful One. All right. Okay, so the first one we just took a mikra, like being the, call him Quickfoot, the rabbit. And the second one, we take a quality and we call the Nosei, in this case Kodesh Baruch Hu, by a certain quality that he has, that he's most powerful of all reality. He's a stronger of all strong things, so we understand what you're talking about when you say Emis Koach, talking about Hashem. The Shlishi, Keshetachas Shem Hanosei Nikach Mikrim Mimikrav Hamash Bazeh Rochev Shemayim Bazrecho Shakavana Bazeh Alaboris Brach V'chein Ratzon Shichnei Sena Sneh, I'm sorry. The Shichnei, the one who dwelt in the Shochnei Sneh, the one who dwelt in the bush. Okay, so what are we doing over there? We take a certain mikra that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu in the burning bush, and we call him the one that dwelt in the bush. And everybody knows that mikra is referring to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Okay. So those are the three types of use of Melitza, where we don't talk about the etzem subject itself, but we use a quality or a quality that they're outstanding of or known to talk about our subject. Okay. Good.
All right.
Yeah. So we should stop here, right?
Yes.
We'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll do Perek Zion. Okay, these things have to be, thought about. But the interesting thing is that the Ramchal is a master of organization, and he's gone through language, and he's trying to define and categorize the various parts. And here he wants to show us the rhetorical aspects of language. Now, he also wrote Tehillim, A lot of it we don't have. We only have a few as Brachim again. But his concept here is something I spoke to my Rosh Hashiva recently, and he always said that let the Gemara teach you how to learn itself, and let the Tanakh teach you how to express language and use it. So this is what we're doing. I mean, actually, I don't know if anyone would feel comfortable writing Tehillim, but the Ramchal is using the Sifrei Kodesh as a method in order for him to express his ideas and understand how to express his ideas. So that's a very interesting Kiddush. Okay, let's go to our second Sefer.
Okay.